Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about the ASAI OnePro. This obviously isn't one of the more bizarre guns I've talked about. It's pretty conventional really, but you don't really come across them very frequently, and it's a pretty nice handgun overall, so I just thought I would put a little bit of information out there on the internet about them. They're imported in very small numbers in the late 1990s, early 2000s by Magnum Research, better known for the Desert Eagle, but they also imported this out of Switzerland. It's made by a company called ASAI, which stands for Advanced Small Arms Industries. Only about 1,000 of these, I believe, were imported, is what I've read. And the gun is pretty basic. It's pretty conventional. It's 45 ACP, double action, single action, semi-auto, 10-round magazine. You're probably thinking it looks a lot like maybe a SIG P226 or a CZ75. It's actually based on the CZ75 design, and the guy who designed it also designed the Sphinx series of pistols, which are based on the CZ75 also. It's another Swiss manufacturer. The main appeal of this gun to me is, the rarity. That's something that I always kind of like in a gun. And just that it's made in Switzerland. Swiss aren't usually known for putting out a bad product, and this is definitely a high quality handgun. I like shooting it a lot. So basics about the gun, it's like I said, in 45 ACP. There is also a conversion kit where you could shoot 400 Korban out of this with a different barrel in there. There was also an extended compensated barrel. In Switzerland, or in Europe I should say, there's also a 9mm version, which is a little bit different. It has a rotating barrel system. This is just a regular short recoil, just exactly like a CZ75. But there's also a 9mm version that was never imported to the United States. And it's a little bit more interesting. It's also a little more compact and things like that. Literature at the time, marketing stuff, says that these were designed for SOCOM, for United States Special Forces. Personally, I don't really believe that. It's a nice gun and everything, but it's definitely not really their style, in my opinion. It's real heavy. It just doesn't really seem like the type of gun that a Navy SEAL would be carrying. The finish on these is a highly touted corrosion-resistant finish, which they also write about when they're talking about the SOCOM aspirations of this gun, that it won't ever rust or anything like that, which I can't really verify, but it definitely does seem like a decent enough finish. The gun is very nicely made, although I wouldn't put it in the same level as like a SIG P210, which is also a Swiss gun and sort of the benchmark of Swiss quality in my opinion. It's not quite at the level of a Sphinx either. They're a little bit nicer, but I think it's definitely a step above a CZ, which is, I don't know, at the risk of offending some people, I've never found CZs to be exceptionally well made. They just, but this is, I think, a step up in quality from a CZ. Not that I don't like CZs, but these are just a little nicer. It's pretty heavy. It weighs about 41 ounces, which is something I like. For some reason, the manual says that it weighs 31 ounces, and then I've also read a couple articles about the gun, and they say that it weighs 31 ounces. So I don't know where they got that number, but it's clearly a heavy gun, and I just weighed it. It weighs 41 ounces, which I like. Give you a size comparison real fast with the Beretta as usual. And nothing too exciting there. It's a full size 45 ACP, kind of like service gun. Show you the width too. Nothing throwing there. It's got 3 white dots for sights. Feels good in the hand. I mentioned the weight, and that's definitely the first thing you notice when you pick it up, is that it feels like very solid, which I like. It's also a little bit top heavy, but once you load up a magazine in there, it balances out a little bit more. Front to back balance is also good. Controls are very CZ75-ish. Got a slide release there. This is a decocker, and I'll cock that. They're very flat controls also. And then you pull that down, decocks it. Mag release is right there, and it's smooth. It has no serrations, which is kind of unusual, I think. Pop the mag out. Both the mags that come with the gun are 10 rounders because they came out during the assault weapons ban. Mags have very sharp corners at the edges. It's one thing I've noticed when you're holding the gun. Sometimes your grip kind of feels the corners of these mags, and they're a little bit sharp. And the gun breaks down just like a CZ75 also, where you pull the slide back just a little bit and push this pin out through this side. The grips are just a basic black plastic. They're not overly sticky, which is another reason why I kind of wonder if these were really made for SOCOM. I think if your hands were wet, this would probably slip right out of your hands. Shooting the gun is very pleasant in my opinion. The main thing, if you read about these online, is people praise the trigger, and I think the trigger is definitely pretty good for a service kind of double action, single action gun. It's very light is the main thing you take away from it. I'll pull the trigger here. It's light and short and double action. Like you can't really tell from on the camera, but the double action pull is probably 7 pounds or something. It's very light. Single action is even lighter. It's probably like 3 pounds. It's a little bit of take up, and then a little bit of kind of creep, which I don't care for a whole lot. It's not overly crisp like I like. I'll show you that up close. So there's some take up and then a little bit of creep there, and then it finally goes. But it's very light. And once you get the hang of the trigger, it's very easy to be accurate with it because it's so light. It's very smooth. It's the other thing that you notice right away. It's just like buttercream. So the trigger is definitely a positive, I think, aspect on this. I'd prefer if the single action didn't have so much creep, but for the lightness and overall, it's just a very nice trigger. Sights work out okay, and because it's so heavy, the slide especially is so heavy, it just doesn't recoil at all. You have the push recoil of a 45 combined with this heavy gun. It's really smooth and really pleasant to shoot because of that. You can shoot it all day. I haven't had any reliability issues with this. I've only shot probably 300 rounds through it. It's not really my primary shooter or anything, but I haven't had any problems with it. A couple people online have said that they had problems with theirs, but they were instantly rebutted by people who said, well, mine works fine. So I don't know. I don't know if it's kind of a mixed bag or if quality control wasn't perfect on these or what the deal is. Mine's worked fine so far. Some people say that some parts in there have broken on them, but mine's held up so far, knock on wood. And the gun's really accurate. I shoot it. It's one of my more accurate handguns, I think. I shoot it as accurately as a lot of my higher end stuff. So I like that a lot. Grip is very comfortable. I don't know if I mentioned that. I like CZ75 ergonomics in general, and this one fits it pretty well. The grip is pretty small considering it's a double stack 45 ACP. My hands aren't really that small, but it still just feels really nice, the grip shape in your hand. If I had any criticisms about the gun, probably just be that because they're so rare and hard to find and the company doesn't seem to be in business anymore, at least not in the United States, any kind of support is non-existent. If something breaks, good luck. And like I said, some people have said that theirs haven't been reliable or that they've had broken parts on theirs, which I haven't experienced, fortunately, but that's something else to look out for. You know, it kind of combines with the first criticism that parts availability is non-existent. So overall, I would say it's not a gun that you should really make extra effort to find. It's definitely a nice piece, though. I like the feel of it. I like the weight of it. The trigger's great. Extremely accurate. Well made, but not Swiss watch quality, but it's definitely a step above common handguns, I think. So it's just a nice gun, and really I'm making this review because people out there might find one in their gun shop one day and kind of wonder what the deal is with that. But it's not something I would camp out on Gunbroker for every day or anything like that. Prices, you're usually going to find them for probably $500 to $1,000 depending on condition. If it's new in box, it might be a little bit higher, up around $800 or $900 for a collector or something like that. But in general, they're not super expensive. And really, it's a decent buy for the quality. And if more parts were available, I would say definitely it's a must buy. But because of that, you know, good for a collector. Definitely make decent shooters, but you know, you always have to worry about parts breaking and things like that. So anyway, that's the ASAI OnePro, and it's a nice gun. It's a good trigger. So smooth. Very accurate. So thanks for watching.